Well, hello, book lovers and screen addicts. Welcome to Stacy, brace yourself, episode 11.
I can't believe it. I can't believe we've done 11 episodes. It's so awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I am Stacy and I'm here with my literary partner in crime, Renee. Yay.
Yay.
Yes, page to screen and in between. So we are jumping into episode 11. It's a good
Yep.
one.
And this is a
And
show about our favorite books that have been adapted into some sort of screen, whether it be a movie, which was the traditional way, but now with all the streaming platforms turned
shows,
into extended series or whatever they call them. And
limited series,
so, yeah,
limited series. Yeah.
series, 6 to 10 episodes, depending on the book.
Yeah.
But we chose a really great book that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But
Yeah.
first off, what's fascinating you right now, Stacy?
My fascination. So I am fascinated with routine. So I'm a very disciplined person. I have a routine, but it fascinates me because I have it written that my morning routine is written down, of course, in my notes.
Oh,
And I do like a checklist every morning of my routine. And I realized it was almost like when I play like Tetris or puzzle or do anything and I get that hit and I get like a dopamine hit
yep.
from it. It's like, oh, I did that. Oh, I did that. I did this. I did this. And it's simple. I mean, like, you would not believe some of the stuff is like putting eye drops in my eyes, scraping my tongue, doing that. Like, it's not complicated, but it gives me that little, okay, I did that. I did that. I did that. And I have that routine. Now I've added just last week because my writer friend, I added writing. So
Oh,
I've been doing
good.
that. I've been
That's
doing
exciting.
a half an hour of writing every day and just adding that to my routine so that it's something I do every day. Now it seems like it's not that much, but it's amazing all of the writing I've gotten done already. Just doing a half an hour.
And what
Um,
is it they say? It takes 21 days to create a new habit. So
yeah,
just keep at it. So,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm doing. So that, but we had started to talk a little bit about routine versus addiction. Like where
Mhm.
or idolatry, or where does it end up? And it's like if you absolutely can't live without it, if you can't do, if it just starts to take over your obsession, kind of like you said, the reason we called this piece fascination instead of obsession is just because we were like, we don't want to have it be like everything to us, right? We don't want to
Right.
obsess over things, but we can be fascinated by things. And so there's a balance there, I think is
Well,
the
I remember way back when you started running and it
yeah.
was really new to you. And you said, and I had already been through my running craze because I had been a big runner doing marathons and 5Ks and 10Ks in my 20s and early 30s. And you kind of started like late 30s, 40s with
37.
your,
Yeah, was my
yeah,
first
yeah,
marathon.
with the running. And I remember you said to me, which is very similar to what we're talking about. You said there's a fine line between a habit or a hobby and a passion versus an obsession.
Right.
So passion versus obsession. And when passion becomes something that you can't live without and if you don't get that dopamine hit, then you can't survive the rest of the day, or then you're just off. You're like walking sideways the rest of the day.
Right.
That's when you maybe have crossed that line into obsession. But you were
Right.
the first person in my life that separated it, that said passion versus obsession. And
Yeah.
now, in our culture, that was before social media. It was
Yeah.
before we were on our iPhones as an appendage to our hand. And now it's just so much a part of our lives that everyone gets these dopamine hits and we need them now. It's like
Yeah.
our biologically, as a culture, as a society, we have forgotten, our bodies have forgotten how to build dopamine on its own. We need that hit, that
Yeah.
constant hit now.
Constantly. And it's not enough. That's when it's really
Mhm.
starts to become when you're just chasing it and chasing it and chasing it. Um,
And
because it's not
routine is
enough.
great. I mean,
Yes.
let's face it, even as a writer, I think we were talking about this last week because you were somewhat saying, well, okay, we'll call it complaining, but you were upset because you couldn't find the writing time. And I said, well, the advice I was given early on,
Mhm.
what you need to do, and this is true for anything that you really want to take on and put it
Mhm.
into your daily life, is you need to do it every day at the exact same time.
Yes.
And you need to train your brain and your body to show up during that time,
Yeah.
whether it's writing, whether it's reading a
Learning a
book,
new language. So I
learning a
do
new
my
language.
Spanish
Yep.
every day, the same time, the Spanish course that
Yep.
I take.
My little niece does that. She does
Yeah.
Duolingo she's going to go to France next year. And she does 10 minutes on Duolingo and does her little 5 minute of exercise stretches before she gets ready and she's a teacher, goes to school.
Yeah.
And so, and I personally, I love a good Excel sheet. So routine
Oh, yeah.
is kind of my jam too. And I would say the last 2 years, I have lost that. And I have just felt discombobulated for the last 2 years.
You're
And I'm
working.
trying,
Yeah, you're working so
yeah,
hard.
I'm working
Yeah.
and I'm working every day is a new day and every week is a different
Schedule.
schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out if I don't go to bed at midnight and still get up at 5 a.m. versus going to bed at 9 and getting up at 5 a.m., how do I navigate that?
Right.
And trying to find that routine. But yeah, it's healthy. And anytime you want to be productive in whatever it is or committed, I do think it has to be a part of, the scary word routine.
Yeah.
And we are, I think, creatures of habit as a, what is it, a mammal, an animal, a human? We're
Yeah.
creatures of habit for
Yeah.
sure.
So this is a good segue because of our book that we
Yes.
has actually has something like an actual
Quote about routine, doesn't
quote
it?
about routine in it. So I'm gonna pull that up while you want to you want to tell them what book we have?
Sure. Sure. And
And
I'll read the kind of, we like to do this to anyone that's joining us today new. We love to, first of all, tell you what our book was. And it was Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption
yeah,
by Stephen King. No, it's not a horror book.
I know
And
I can't do
right,
horror.
you were kind of shying away. And then we went, no, wait, it's Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Redemption. So the story is about suspenseful, it's mysterious, it is gut-wrenching. It's just a novella populated by a cast of unforgettable characters. It's the powerful tale of crushing despair and liberating hope through the eyes of Ellis Red Redding. Red's a guy who can get you whatever you want in Maine's corrupt and hard-edged Shawshank State Penitentiary, for a price, of course. But the one thing he doesn't count on is an unexpected friendship forged with fellow inmate Andy Dufresne, an inscrutable one-time banker, perhaps falsely accused of brutally calculatingly murdering his wife and her lover. It's a story that will transform your eyes about prison life.
Yes, I loved it. I had watched the movie years ago.
It came out in 1994. So
Yeah, yeah.
did
So
you
what
see it in the theater? Did you see it in the theater?
94? I'm gonna say maybe because we had three and a half, 2.5 kids. I don't know if we did. It might have been one of our date night things, but I just remember seeing it. Maybe we rented it on video from Blockbuster.
From Blockbuster?
After it came out, but we watched it and I remember thinking, I don't know if I want to watch it. It's going to be a Stephen King. I get so scared and his things are so spooky and they stay with me. And this one was it does stay with you.
For sure.
But the story is so rich. And yeah. And then, of course, reading the book, it was written in 1982.
So this was my first time reading the book or the novella.
Me too.
I'd
And
only seen
it was
the
only
movie.
118 pages, so it was
I
really
think it was
easy.
2.5 hour read. I think it was definitely, it was shorter than A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
It was that
And
fast.
it was written it's called Different Seasons. He wrote 4 different books and it was called Different Seasons. And I think each book kind of follows a different season of the year. But
Okay.
Stand By Me is one of them.
which is another amazing
Yeah,
movie.
it's called The
Loved that
Body.
movie.
Apt Pupil is one, and it was made into a movie that's not. It was about a kid who became friends with his neighbor who was a Nazi,
Oh,
who had been a Nazi, and his neighbor, he figured it out, and so he made his neighbor tell him all this stuff that he did. And then The Breathing Method, and that's not one that became a movie. So this one was actually called Rita Hayworth and the
mhm.
Shawshank Redemption, which is you'll know why when you read it. But the routine, how I came up with the routine and brought that is because he's telling Red is telling this story, and he was watching Andy and just kept scratching his head how he could be so things could be happening to him, and yet he would keep this type of demeanor,
Very
um,
calm. Yes.
almost like he wasn't there.
Detached.
This wasn't, yeah, he wasn't, he was out in regular life. This
Hmm.
wasn't happening. And he said, in spite of the problems he was having, he was going on with his life, his routine.
Hmm.
There are thousands who don't or won't or can't, and plenty of them aren't in prison either. And
Right.
so he said he noticed that although his face looked as if a twister had happened to it because he had gotten beaten up, his hands were still neat and clean, his nails well kept. So he like kept his routine in order to keep his sanity,
As I say, survive for sure.
survive, keep his sanity
Just to
because
survive.
all these things were happening to him, and he was just like the only thing he could grasp onto was this routine, this normal.
And that was his way of controlling the chaos in his life.
Yes.
Which isn't that what routine is? It helps
Right.
because life is chaotic.
Right.
Life is, we're all, no, we're not all in a hardcore penitentiary prison,
No.
but we all somewhat are in some tiny way prison.
Well,
And
and you said the miscombobulated. You
right,
feel miscombobulated right now. You're not
right.
in
Without
prison.
having a routine, without being able to
Right.
navigate my chaotic schedule, because
Yes.
that's what it is.
Yes.
And not having anything to hold on to, I am unlike Andy. I mean, I'm like the duck. It looks like I'm like this and I'm all calm, but my little feet are just running as fast as you can under the
Yeah.
surface. And
Yeah.
that's my brain. My brain is the duck feet. And so you're right. And well, let's talk about the book,
Okay.
the novella. The one thing that I loved about this book and kind of didn't, it's very interesting, was the voice of Red.
Okay.
So it was very 1930s film noir, which
Yes.
makes sense because it's kind of set there, it's in the 30s.
40.
Well,
Yeah. 40.
40s really,
40s.
1940,
Yeah.
but it had that 1930s film noir
And
scent
the
down to it.
music,
The music, but I'm talking about in the book, the language, and even, and I will say, this is what makes Stephen King a brilliant author.
Okay.
When we talk about author voice, what people, nobody understands what that is. What is that? What is an author's voice? And
Right.
an author's voice is basically the only way that you personally tell a story. It's the way you lay down words on a page. It's the cadence. It's how it sounds. You can read a Nora Roberts book and know within 3 pages it's a Nora Roberts book, regardless of whether or not there's a film, whatever, a back
Yeah.
jacket, paper jacket. But what Stephen King does brilliantly is he immerses the book in the character's voice.
Right.
So we knew who Red was by page 10 because of the voice.
Right.
And Stephen King is a master at that, because if you read other books, he has a different voice. So that is one of those pieces of advice in his On Writing book, because he has a craft book
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he talks about, is that you have to, as an author, get yourself out of the story and become that character and give them life and give them words that only that character would use. And now that I've said that, if you go back to reading the or Rita Hayworth in the Shawshank Redemption, you see that it is totally a Red story. It is Red's story. And
Right.
even though he's telling us about Andy, we know everything we need to know about Red because of the cadence of his voice, the words he uses,
Mm,
even the cliches he pops in.
yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of point that out
It's good.
because that as a writer, I was so fascinated. And at the same time, you can go overboard. And at the same time, I felt it was a little kitschy, a little too 1930s film noir cliche even. And
Okay.
I feel like I wish Red had been a little less cardboardy, I guess, because he was exactly what you would think an inmate would sound like from that background.
Mm,
And he's telling the story, so he's narrated it. So we don't really hear a whole lot about Red.
yeah.
That being said, it works.
Yeah. I felt like he wasn't, so for the crime that he did,
Hmm.
and he says he was guilty, like he did it. I
The
feel
only
like
guilty man in Shawshank.
the only guilty man in Shawshank. I feel like he wasn't as hard. I
Hmm.
feel like he had a softer, because even the fact that he made friends with Annie, he was, he was more educated than I felt like he might have truly been doing. I don't know. So there was
Yeah, because he didn't indulge in the library because that was
no,
not his area.
but
He
yet
was a
when he needed
businessman.
assistance when Andy needed assistance during tax time, he was able to help Andy during tax. So he kind of reminded me of my dad. Okay,
Yeah.
so my dad was very, very smart, not educated formally, but very, very smart. And he had done a stint in prison, kind of kept kept his head down, kept his, but it kind of reminded me of that. Like he's very smart. He was very,
Hmm.
like we called it Yankee ingenuity.
Yeah.
Um, but yet he could figure out anything really. Technology got him. When the computers came, that was
But you
about
know
it.
what? My father was an educated medical
Yeah,
physician, and technology got him.
yeah, yeah.
That was
So
generational for sure.
yeah.
My
So
father never
anyway,
learned to type. And I even
he
got him,
didn't learn to
those
type.
little typing programs he could do on the computer. No, he wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But that's Red kind of reminds me of that, where he had smarts, but he didn't have opportunities
Right.
to.
And in the book, he was a white, redheaded Irishman.
Was he?
Yes, he was an Irish guy. And he was, because they talked about his
I
red
thought he
hair.
said it funny. I thought he said it. I thought
No,
his
the
name Red
movie,
came
because
from
in the
Ready.
movie, when he was called
Oh,
Red, he,
it came from
Andy
his
said, "You're called Red." And in the movie, he says, "Yeah, I'm Irish."
right.
But that was a joke. In the movie, it was a joke. In the book, he
Well, it
really
was real.
was.
Okay, because I
In the
thought it was
book, he
from his
really
last
was
name.
he was a white Irish guy. Hmm.
Okay,
Because,
okay.
and that was the one thing I felt, even the book and the movie, like even when Red got out in the 60s. And I thought, well, maybe it's because it was the North, because, I was from the South. There was no segregation. Red's just sitting on the bus. And in the South, that would have never happened in the 60s. He would have been at
Right,
the back of the bus.
right.
And there was no mention, like, and even in the penitentiary, you know what I mean, in the
Yeah,
prison, he was, there was a mixing of races. And
right.
I don't know if that happened in the 1940s.
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
don't think it did. I think the country was very segregated. So, in that, I felt as though that was a very 1980s, 1990s construct that was put into the book and movies that would not have been maybe realistic. It works for the movie because we watched it in the 80s and the 90s.
Right.
And I do think that is one of those things, and I see it in books now. I even saw it. This was what my master's thesis was on, because Shakespeare, when he wrote his historical plays, he put in modern mores and he questioned
Mm,
modern morals and modern morality.
okay.
And I feel as though Stephen King was questioning that, because if he had Red could not have been in, I don't think he could have been a black man in this book and made him friends with Andy. But he doesn't say anything about that. Like, he doesn't speak to
No, he doesn't.
segregation or how
Yeah.
odd it would have been. And maybe being from the South, I'm going to give it, I don't know, because I didn't know, I know
Because it was in
nobody that
Maine,
grew
right?
up.
They were in
And yeah,
Maine.
I know nobody, to be honest. So this isn't a fair, maybe it's not a fair assessment. I know nobody that was from the far north that grew up in the 20s and 30s. Because that's,
Right.
let's face it, that's when these guys were children and committing
Yeah.
their crimes. They were both in the war. And well, Red wasn't, because he was already in prison during the war.
Oh, in the 40s.
Yeah, because he'd already been there for 20 years.
Right. Right.
So anyway, that was just one of those things that I sort of, thought about as I was reading the book. So I would say segueing into the movie,
Hmm.
I loved the casting.
Oh my gosh.
Loved the casting.
Yeah. So I think Andy was a little bit different because in the book he was small.
Right.
He was very
And
small, and Tim Robbins is tall and lean, but very tall. He
yeah,
always
you
had the
you
duck.
you notice him in a crowd. I think
Right.
originally uh, Kevin Costner was asked to be in the movie, and he was in the middle of doing Waterworld, and he was like, "Nope." It would have been Kevin Costner, and I think about couldn't have done it. Not the way
No, Tim
it
Robbins just
was.
did it. So the
Tim
smirk,
Robbins.
the smirk,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like he just had that good
That
smirk.
silent presence, the
Yeah,
silent presence that I just
and
don't
that
think
pissed
that.
everybody off because he wouldn't
Right,
say
because
stuff. He
so
wouldn't say
self-contained.
right, and they wanted a reaction, and
Mhm.
he wouldn't give it. That was
No,
his control. He wouldn't give the reaction that they
yeah.
wanted from
It
him.
was Kevin. There was another actor, and it wasn't Kevin Costner that was also up for the role, but then Tim Robbins. And I think that was wise because in the book, he is sort of this shadowy figure, and he claims he's innocent, but you never really know because the way he got caught and how all the circumstantial evidence was against him, it was really hard to believe that he was innocent.
Yeah, yeah, and they never expanded on any investigation or anything. He was like, you know what? He tried, and then he just went, okay, I'm going to go to
Yeah.
plan B. I'm getting out of
Yeah.
here. Because I
Right.
think he thought at one point, I mean, this is just my brain. I think he thought, I can get out of here realistically and get my money that I have, that he has, stowed away
Squirreled
or
away.
whatever. I can
Mhm.
still do that plan, but I can do it legitimately. And then when the
Mhm.
warden nixed it, he was like, okay, well, I'm
Oh,
still
what an
doing it.
evil man, that
Oh
warden.
my, the worst is when people use God for evil. I can't.
Aren't we seeing that now? I mean, we don't want to talk about, we're seeing it now.
It is, and I hate that.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
it's not just the Christian faith, it's all faiths do this.
yeah,
So it's not just,
God
but in
told me
America,
to, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
XYZ, and I'm just like,
mhm.
he just wouldn't, yeah, and
And the
so that
film
really,
there's so many dark moments in the film and moments of despair, but then it has such a great uplifting, such a great message, very much like you were talking about finding that calm in the storm,
yeah,
being the duck, finding a way to navigate this crazy chaotic place that we're in and coming out saying on the other side. What a lesson. But it's called The Shawshank Redemption, the
uh-huh,
movie. uh, it is number one on all these top cinematic movie
mhm,
list ever.
yeah,
Like, of the, I think, 250 books or movies, is always up there, if not number one, within the top five.
yeah,
And it's, I can see why. So I feel as though in the movie, they did take some liberties that weren't
yeah,
in the book.
uh-huh.
So
What,
one
what
of them
maybe
being,
which
well, one of
one?
them being casting.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
other, but there was a lot, like even the dialogue came a lot from the book. So they stayed with the book in a lot of ways, including the dialogue, the red, even when he says, I'm, red, and he goes, yeah, I'm Irish. They were able to twist it and kind of make a wink, wink, nudge, nudge at
Yeah.
that piece. And even the Rita Hayworth, the movie, when they're showing the movie in that Gilda, it's the movie Gilda, which is one of my favorite movies. And well, we'll talk about that another time. It's one of my favorite movies. And the scene where she pops her head up and the hair goes flying, I remembered that from the first time I saw Gilda. So it was interesting when Red
Mm.
is like, hey,
And
hey,
they
hey,
all wait,
hey,
wait, wait,
wait,
wait,
wait,
and then
wait,
woo, yeah,
wait.
yeah.
You know,
That's so funny.
I had that same reaction. I'm like, dang, I want to be Rita Hayworth. She
No
was
kidding.
so gorgeous and I would recommend, this is way off target, way off topic. Gilda, the dialogue in Gilda is fabulous. It is so
Cool.
well done. And I absolutely recommend it. It's in
So fun. I would never
1920s.
have.
19, no, it's post World War II, so it's the same time.
Oh,
And it's in South America, and her husband, I think, is an escaped Nazi. But anyway, it's a
oh,
great movie with Glenn Ford and Rita Hayworth. Which,
okay.
so when I saw that it was Rita Hayworth, I was like, well, it's a perfect person. This is where Stephen King was brilliant, because when he wrote the story, because she was the iconic idol of that day. She
Right.
was the number
But
one
then it
movie
was so
star.
funny because he was in there for so long that they kept changing.
The poster,
The
the
poster
poster
kept
kept
changing,
changing.
and it ended up being Linda Ronstadt.
Right. In the
Um,
movie, it ended up, because they got him out earlier. In the book, he gets out 1977, 6.
uh-huh.
In the film, he gets out in the 60s. So it's Raquel Welch in the film.
Right. So it's the Planet of the Apes, or maybe Planet of the Apes, or
It was that it wasn't Planet of the Apes. It was that weird, anyway, it's a movie. It was what made her a star as
okay.
well. So it was interesting how even the way that he picked those movie posters, that was what
Right.
it was like set during caveman era, the
Yeah.
movie. And
Yeah.
terrible movie, but she ran around in that
In that
sexy
white,
bikini.
yeah, like
Yeah,
bikini. So
yeah,
I
fur
was
lined
looking to
bikini.
see if it got, because you said it's like one of the top movies. And so I was just looking up to see like what awards, Academy Awards. So it was
Mhm.
nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, Morgan Freeman, Best Writing, Screenplay
Mhm.
Writing, Best Cinematography, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, and Best Original Score. But it did not win anything. It
Right.
did win the Best DVD Blu-ray in 2016.
That's
And it
funny.
won out of cinematography, a lot of the camera, the casting, critics. It was nominated for a lot of things, but it didn't win. It only
Well, and
won
it didn't make a lot of money when it was in, which is maybe why neither one of us saw it in the movie theater. It was
maybe.
made 25 million, and it only made 28 million
Yeah, so I'm wondering if
in
it
the movie theater.
really picked up in the video DVD, like, yeah, like, because I don't think I
Kind of
saw
like
it.
It's a Wonderful Life, that is now
Right,
so iconic.
right,
And it was a bomb when it first came out. Like, it was not popular at all when it first came out.
right. So yeah, maybe that's so. I thought that was really interesting. Um, it goes along the lines of some of his other, The Stand by Me, Misery. That's kind of one of these, and Green Mile, like
Yep.
these really rich stories. Or I feel like there's more of the story than in some of his spookier ones. It's more about the
The
spookiness of it,
horror.
the
Yeah.
horror, or the spookiness. These are more about the story, and the stories are upsetting.
Character. They're very good. Yes, the
They're
characters,
upsetting,
they're
but they're
very it's very dark. They're very dark stories
yes,
with hopeful endings.
yes,
And I feel like that's not always true with horror. I guess horror, you survive whatever, you survive Cujo, you survive, Children
yeah.
of the Corn.
Cujo is one of his.
Yeah, Carrie, you
Oh,
survive. Carrie was one of his.
uh-huh.
Uh, Yeah. And I think it's just it's just totally different because, oh, I remembered, okay, I said it was Tom Hanks that was also going to play,
Oh, yeah. I can't
but
see him in that
he
role.
was filming Forrest Gump at the time. And so he couldn't do it.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
it
And then
was,
he ended up doing Green Mile, he was
right, which
perfect
was
in Green
also
Mile.
right. So that was sort of when he started and did Philadelphia in the Middle. He started becoming more of a dramatic actor.
Yeah. And
So
more
did you,
versatile.
right, right. Did you read something about his car accident, Stephen King? Like we were
Yeah.
talking about the difference between that
Yeah.
genre of
He
book,
was
The
on an
Stand.
interview. Yeah. So it happened in June 19th, 1999. I had thought it had happened like, I thought Shawshank would have been after, but it's not. Shawshank is before. Um, they said that they noted that he had increased focus and
Mm,
expanded storytelling. So he expanded his storytelling more. Um, that was the interview. He was on like a good more like with Matt Mar Mahar Matt Maurer
oh,
Matt
right.
Lauer Matt Lauer
Matt Lauer.
Lauer, yeah,
It's
and
great
he
that
was
we forgot his name. We should forget his name. Yes.
yeah. And so anyway, that he was on with him, talking about the car accident, talking about, kind of some of his, reflections from it and everything. And he felt like Stephen King said, he felt like he needed to expand on his storytelling, not just have it be, you know, simple. It was more expanded. Anyway, increased focus. So I think I don't know. I'm sure he wrote the on writing after you said he talks about the car accident in the book, right? In his
Right,
on writing
right,
book. So it's a bit of
right.
a writing book, but it's also a little bit of
A
an
memoir.
autobiography, a
It's a little
memoir.
bit weird. It's a little bit of a memoir, and
Okay.
I got the book in because I started writing, like seriously pursuing publication around 99, 2000. So that would make sense that he wrote this book probably after the car accident.
Okay.
And maybe that was what he was promoting with that interview was his book.
Right. He
And
probably was.
talking about right,
Yeah.
and that would be something, but he talks about in the book very basic writing techniques like don't ever use adverbs. It's the dirge of the storytelling and things that as a new writer just really I just really sort of swallowed it up, or I was like a sponge. I just
Yeah.
soaked it all in.
Hmm.
Reading it now, I feel like it is the book that I think if people are a fan of his and want to also write like him or write or become a writer, there's a lot of value in it, but it is more memoir than I remembered
Hmm.
when I read it the first
I,
time
I'm
because
I'm
I got it
interested in
again or I
maybe
pulled
checking
it
it
off my
out. Yeah.
shelf. It's a keeper. It's on my shelf, the on
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely
It's
going
pretty
to.
thick. It's a
Oh,
pretty
it is.
thick book.
Okay. I'll
Mhm.
I'll check it out and see if I can find it. I mean, on my
All
Kindle.
right, so
Okay, well,
let's do
oh, this is going to be
which is
hard.
best, screen or page?
You go first.
Okay, I'm gonna have to say screen. And the reason I'm gonna say screen is the casting. I
Hmm.
feel as though they nailed it. Had it been Tom Hanks, had it been Kevin Costner, had it been anyone but Morgan Freeman, I think I would have chosen book. And I do think the book is really well done, but I feel as though, yep, screen. I think,
Okay.
and I also feel the ending changed a little bit too.
Yeah.
We get to actually see in the movie, we see Red getting to Mexico.
Right.
The
And
ending
being,
of the book was hope this, hope that, hope this. The last word is hope,
yeah.
which I think was the theme of the book.
Right.
When hope dies, you die. When hope remains alive, you survive and you find your freedom somehow. Hope equals freedom. And I think
Mhm.
that's the theme of the book. And I feel like the movie took it far enough that we see Andy
Yeah.
has survived.
We didn't have to
Yeah, he
guess.
survived. And he's waiting for Red to help him start the hotel. Right then he was just he's tan, he's playing on his boat. He's
Yeah.
just sort of living free. And now Red's there and I feel as though that they're going to get that hotel and they're going to make something of the rest of their
Right.
lives.
Right. Yeah. So I also picked Scream for
Okay.
maybe a different reason. I felt that we heard the voice of a lot of the different characters
Mhm.
separately from Red. Okay, so
And
in the
that's what a
book, it
movie
was
does.
always Red, and it was all
Right.
his voice and his thoughts on even the guard that Andy ends up kind of
Had,
helping, with his inheritance, the warden, and that was a little, but you in the book, it was all Red's perspective. And even
mhm.
though Red was telling the story in the movie, you still, I feel like, got a more dimensions of characters. Um,
Including Andy and including the
and
kid that proved that Andy was innocent.
yes,
That
yes,
came
yeah,
in, that
in the
cocky
book
little
they
kid.
sent him
That
away,
was
and in the movie,
he came
so
so alive, and the way they
yeah.
got rid of him was, I feel, so heartbreaking. I mean, it
Oh,
the
yeah,
whole
in the movie, it they got rid of him, but they didn't kill him.
right. They just got rid of
They
him
let
in the
him live.
movie.
They let him actually have a better life.
Right, and in the book, he mentions Stephen King mentions, or Red mentions, people disappear. But
Right.
in the book, we find out that the kid that gives him
The
the
hope.
hope, yeah, basically the hope that he really is, that yes, you are innocent, and there's proof that you're innocent. There's the guy that really did it is still alive and kicking.
Yeah.
Or we think he is. We don't know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he became such a great voice of hope, and then hope destroyed, because in the movie he is absolutely wiped off, and I
Right.
think it's very much like subtext. That's the end of hope for Andy. There's no
Right.
getting out of this place. No
No.
getting out of this place.
Right.
Let me ask you one question before we wrap this up.
Okay.
When you watched the movie, were you surprised that Andy actually got out? Did you know how that was going to end? Were you surprised? Like, did you discover that Andy escaped this the when the warden and the rest of them discovered it when you were watching the movie, or did
Yeah,
you have a sense that he was
I
going to get
guess I
out?
kind of put it together that that was happening. I didn't know exactly until Red went through the whole, showed it and everything, because it was like, did he wait for a storm because of he had to, like, when the lightning crashed, he crashed the pipe, like, so I don't know if I knew exactly, but it is called redemption. So I thought, well, something's going to be redeemed. I don't know if he's going to, what's going to happen,
I
but
just thought
something.
maybe he'd get paroled. I had
No,
no,
yeah,
like,
it
but
was,
then when he started telling Red about the money hidden and the
yeah,
identity, and I'm going to get, I still thought, okay, he's going to escape somehow,
yeah.
but I had no idea
Somebody's going to come
how.
forward or something,
Right, right, yeah.
and
And
then
you get that false hope because the kid does come forward and you're thinking, "Oh, yeah,
right,
he's gonna get out." Nope,
yeah, yeah,
you
no,
know,
no.
he was too valuable.
But
Okay,
the escape is all Stephen King. That gross going through the poop and going through, and doing that escape was a Stephen King classic.
oh,
The
yeah,
how he did it, like
oh,
getting
yeah.
through, and right. I
Well, in
mean,
the book, it was just as graphic. It was maybe
yeah,
more graphic
yeah.
because the cop that had to follow through and figure out where Andy went was like, "I ain't going in there.
He's
I'm not
puking.
going in there."
And so it just
And then the
gave
warden's like, "You're going in there.
yeah. Oh my gosh,
You want a job? Well, you're gonna have to come out the other side to get a job.
it's so
Yeah, keep your
funny.
job."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So it
so
was
it's
good.
your turn for last word.
Well,
What do you have to say?
yeah, well, my last word, some of these things like prison things hit close to home and everything, but it's like I want people to say, what breaks your heart? Not what cause, what social media thing like that. No, like what actually breaks your heart, and then do something. Do something. Don't just say it. Don't go on, don't have a rant about it. Don't
Mm.
that does nothing. You can be like, oh, prisons are terrible and that breaks my heart, and then do nothing, or rant about, or anything that's happening today, with immigration or with homelessness or anything. You can rant about it and that does nothing.
Yep. So
So
there's a difference. What you're saying is there's a difference between a social justice warrior, which is someone who just rants,
right.
versus a social activist who gets out there
And I'm
and
not talking about
does the work.
protesting. I'm not
Right.
talking about protesting. That's not doing anything. I'm talking about going,
Changing
making
one
somebody's
life to
life
life.
matter, babysit for somebody, go into your circle and see where you can help, and babysit for a single mom, or take a meal to an elderly person, or, like, do something, even if it's small, and that ripple effect is going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's my
Okay. I love
rant.
it.
But do what,
So
find what breaks your
Nikki,
heart.
before we leave, I want to ask you, so when you say breaks your heart, so give me a
So,
very concrete example.
okay. So something that breaks my heart is loneliness.
Mm.
Um, People who are, even, I mean, because I can be very lonely in a whole group of people.
Most of us, yes.
Most of us, right?
Very
I
profound,
mean,
yes.
and I think listening intently to somebody that it's unexpected to them, that you're actually not changing the subject to something about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is an art.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm practicing it all the time, to listen. And it's hard. I fail a lot, because something clicks into your head and you start to connect the dots. You're like, oh yeah, this happened to me and this happened to me, this. And so that's listening intently
So
without.
what breaks your heart is loneliness. And so then now what your next step is, figure out how to help people who are lonely. And even if it's just sitting down for 3 minutes and looking them in the eye and listening. Okay,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really a good challenge. I'm going to have to think on this for a while.
Yeah. Let me know
Yeah.
next time. Speaking of next time, our next episode is our recap.
Our recap, because we've had 5 episodes since the last recap.
Yeah.
And yes, I was looking back at the different books we've done, and boy, what an eclectic group of books.
Yes.
Started with Hidden Figures, ending with Shawshank Redemption.
So
And 3 in between, which were great books. I can't wait to do that. So we'll be here in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And in between that time, like, share, subscribe.
Give us
and
suggestions. Give us
Yes.
suggestions on books that you'd like to see us do. So
I would love that, because I would think that they're like Confessions of a Shopaholic would not have been on our radar. So please give us some suggestions.
Yeah.
Anything, as long as it was made. It could even be a Hallmark movie if that's what your heart is.
Yeah.
We may not pick it, but
who knows?
we may.
We may during Valentine's Day or something. I don't know.
That
Who
could
knows?
be a good one. Yeah,
We'll
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening and watching.
Bye.